my beloved child. Do not let yourself close your eyes and fall asleep in the trembling ground of the spiritual life. Tonight I am rousing you gently yet urgently, so that you may remove the mask you have worn for far too long. The three dark doors of sin, fear, and bondage are standing ajar, and if you do not shut them, the light I have prepared for you will withdraw. Something is drawing near with the dawn, very near, so near that I want you to prepare as though this were the last time you and I could still speak with one another. Do not wait for morning, for there are opportunities which, once they vanish, will never return. I see your trembling heart more clearly than you see yourself in the mirror, for there is nothing concealed that will not be revealed, and nothing hidden that will not be made known. Elk 1:2:2. I am calling you to rise up in this very night. Allow me to remove the weary mask, to close the doors that have exhausted your soul, and to lead you into a freedom you never imagined you could deserve. Life is not just a jumble of good and bad days, as you have always thought. There are moments when I let you stop, not to weaken you, but so that you may realize you are standing in the midst of an invisible battlefield. I do not want you to be lulled to sleep by the familiar rhythm of your days and then miss my voice calling you. The small signs, a restlessness, a word of warning, a passing accident, or a dream that wakes you in the night are never meaningless. All of them are whispers I sow into your heart. Stay awake, for you do not know at what hour your Lord will come. You think you are doing fine, but in truth your soul is so weary that a single breath of wind is enough to make you sway. I see the loneliness you hide behind your smile. I see the battles you speak of to no one. I see every time you try to convince yourself that everything will pass eventually. No, my child. Things only truly pass when you face them together with me. Do not close your eyes to forget the pain. Open them so that you may be healed. I am always standing just behind the door you are afraid to open. And now, as you are beginning to recognize my voice, I want you to know this: your transformation does not come from luck. It does not come from some cosmic energy, and still less from waiting for someone else to rescue you. You must stand up in the midst of the battlefield of your soul, because your silence is sometimes the very gap through which the darkness steps in. Do not be afraid, for I do not abandon you, but I do want you to take the first step, a real step, a wholehearted step, so that I can do the rest in the light of my spirit. My child, before me not a single one of your tears falls without being lifted up by my mercy. On the nights when you lie awake, thinking your prayers have been returned to you in silence, I am still there, receiving every sigh. What you try to hide from everyone's eyes, your fears, mistakes, sins, and the shadowed corners you are ashamed even to name, is precisely where I long to lay my hand to heal you. This is not a message meant to stir your emotions. This is my call for you to return to the truth about yourself. Because only when you are honest can your soul step into true freedom. My dear one, I want you to grow still for a moment. Like a child resting its head on the father's shoulder after a day too exhausting to keep pretending to be strong. I know there are areas you guard so tightly, as though if you were to open them even a little, everything would collapse. But you do not need to defend yourself before me. I, the Lord, search the heart and test the mind. Jer 1:7-10. Not to condemn you, but so that you may know there is one who understands you more deeply than you understand yourself. The thing that shames you most, the thing you try to cover with a smile or with silence, is exactly where I want my light to touch. You do not need to brace yourself and act strong in my presence, because your weakness is where I can begin to rebuild you from your deepest foundations. Sometimes I see you so tired that you only have enough strength to wrap yourself in layers of armor, strong, fine, cheerful, at peace. Yet both of us know that these are only the garments you put on when you step outside. Deep within, you long for someone who can understand your choking tears without needing you to explain or prove anything. And I have been there from the very beginning, watching each time you held back your tears for fear of disappointing others. You often think that if anyone knew all that you are struggling with, they would leave. But I will not. It is precisely when you allow me to see the part of you that you fear the most that I draw you closest to me. For I never despise a soul that is searching for the way home. You only need to dare to open yourself to me first. The rest I will gently lead you through. Step by step. I understand why you so often run from the truth of your own heart. There are memories you wish you had never lived. There are mistakes that make you feel unworthy to stand before me. But my beloved, while he was still a long way off, his father saw him and ran to embrace him. Lec 1520 is not only the story of the prodigal son, it is also your story today. You may fear people, fear being judged, fear being misunderstood, but you do not need to fear me. I do not come to dig into your wounds, I come to heal them. When you dare to look directly at what you have been avoiding, the darkness will lose its power over you, and the truth will open like a door through which your soul can breathe freely. I have witnessed so many times you blamed yourself for things you did not dare to speak aloud. You thought that if you simply ignored them, they would disappear on their own. Yet the hidden pain kept growing, becoming a burden you had to carry alone. I want you to know that burying your pain does not make you stronger. It only makes you more alone, like a room that has been shut up too long. The darkness makes you forget that you were made to step into the light. When you believe that, I do not want anyone to perish, but everyone to come to repentance. 2 Pet 3:9. You will understand that I never intend for you to cower in fear. I long for you to open the door, even just a crack, so that I may rekindle the light that has grown dim after so many years of you imprisoning yourself in silence. My child, I do not blame you for trying to endure everything on your own. I only ask that you stop closing off those dark corners, as though my mercy were not enough to enter them. The more you hide, the more you lock your own soul away. And it is this that leaves you exhausted, even when no one else sees it. Let me step into the places you are most afraid to revisit. I do not come to hurt you further, but to lift the burden from your shoulders with the gentle hands of a father who has known you since you were first formed. When you begin to be truthful with me, a wellspring of freedom will slowly open, soft as the breath of morning, yet strong enough to awaken you from the long sleep of your loneliness. And then, when you allow me to look straight into your bare heart, you will realize that what you thought was a stain is exactly where I lay the foundations for a new life. Not so that you may appear perfect in the eyes of the world, but so that you may be healed in my eyes. You will see that you no longer need to run away, no longer need to pretend to be fine, no longer need to wear the mask that leaves you gasping for air. You will be strong enough to face yourself without trembling. And when the truth has shone forth, you will begin to feel the warmth of the spiritual battle that surrounds you, a battle you did not know you were standing in, but one I have seen for a very long time. This is not to make you anxious, but to let you know that once the truth has been revealed, you are ready to step into a new awareness that I want to show you, a place where invisible battles no longer deceive you into thinking you are a victim of fate. You will realize that you are called to step into the light, not by your own strength, but by the hands that are waiting to take hold of you. My beloved child, there are things you have gone through that cannot be summed up in a few words, like tired, unlucky, or emotionally unstable. I see your soul like a small boat in a rushing current, trying to keep its balance, but constantly struck by invisible waves crashing against its sides. You ask yourself why you are so weak, why negative thoughts appear precisely when you are most vulnerable. But my child, The thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. JN 1010. And what he wants to steal, first of all, is your peace. Not every headwind comes from circumstances. Some gusts are blown at you at the very moment you grow careless, to make you believe that I have left you, even though I have never stepped away from you, not even once. There are days when your mind grows heavy, as if a cold breath were seeping deep inside, until you can no longer see clearly who you are. The whispers you hear within you are useless. No one needs you. Your prayers are pointless, have never come from me. They are arrows shot at you in the moments when you are most vulnerable. I have placed my image within you, and no voice has the right to insult what I have created. But I also need you to discern this darkness does not only come from outside. Sometimes it is your own choices that have opened the door for it to enter. When you feed negative habits, when you allow old wounds to go unhealed, when you keep telling yourself that you cannot change, the door of your heart begins to crack open for discouragement to slip in. I want you to remember this so that you will not be afraid you are not crazy. You are not excessively weak. You are simply being attacked at the very point where you are most fragile. And I know why it is so easy for you to believe those lies. It is because you have been fighting alone for so long that what is false has begun to sound like truth. When you are exhausted, those destructive whispers cling to you, offering you a counterfeit escape, giving up, surrendering, or isolating yourself so that no one will see the pain you carry. But my child, God did not give us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love. 2 Tim 1:7. My voice never crushes you. My voice raises you up. Whenever you hear something that makes you feel small, useless, or abandoned, know that it is not from me. I am calling you to stand on the side of truth by learning to recognize which voice comes from the light and which comes from the darkness, so that you can firmly refuse the latter. But you also need to know this important truth: not everything is a demonic attack. Sometimes it is your own lack of discipline, your bad habits, your procrastination, or the wounds you refuse to face that have turned your heart into a chaotic battlefield. You are not a helpless victim without a cure. You bear a share of responsibility in this battle. I am not saying this to blame you, but so that you may reclaim your authority over your inner life. When you put all the blame on fate or on the forces of darkness, you unintentionally strip yourself of the ability to change. I want you to understand that darkness cannot force its way in if you do not open the door. You need to learn to live watchfully, to learn how to close the cracks that your weaknesses have created, and to learn how to stand firm in the small things of everyday life. Only then can your soul grow strong from within, no longer trembling before any lie. Let me say this to you gently and truthfully: as long as you see yourself only as a victim of circumstances, you will remain frozen in your own fear. And that is what I do not want to see in you. I created you to fight as one who is loved, not to shrink back like a creature tossed around by fate. When you realize that the battle you are going through is real, a sacred battle in which both darkness and your own inner limitations are present, then you will stop blaming and start acting. You will know that you are not useless. You are simply being struck at the very place I want to heal. And when the light begins to spread into the areas you used to fear, you will naturally sense the next step I have prepared for you, the step of opening the door so that you may begin to close off the paths darkness has taken advantage of all this time, and draw nearer to the true freedom I have set aside for you. You will realize you are standing at the threshold of a great decision, not a decision of luck or chance, but of courage and conversion in the Spirit. My child, I want you to sit down and take a deep breath, because the path you are about to enter is a path of courage, not courage to conquer the world, but courage to face your own self. Spiritual breakthrough does not come from luck, from a beautiful day, or from waiting for some unexpected sign. It comes when you decide to close the doors that you have left open for so long without realizing it, allowing darkness to walk freely through your soul. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. 2 Cor 3:1-7. And freedom cannot come while the door of your heart stands open to what exhausts your soul. I do not ask you to be perfect. I only want you to dare to begin with a decision that is real, firm, and sincere. Like your whispered words in the night I want to come home. There is a door that has drained you for many years now, and you yourself know it well, the relationships that pull you away from me and away from the goodness I have planted within you. I see you clinging to people who do not lift up your soul, simply because you are afraid of loneliness, afraid of loss, or afraid that you do not deserve anything better. But my child, whoever walks with fools will suffer harm, but the companion of the wise becomes wise. Prov 1:3-20. Not so that you may judge anyone, but so that you may recognize that you are worthy of those who know how to cherish your soul. Forgiveness is what I teach you. But forgiving does not mean opening the door for someone to go on wounding you. When you close the door on toxic relationships, it is not that you become cold. It is the moment you understand that your heart is the place where I dwell, and you must protect it with wisdom. Then there is the second door, the darkest place. The place you hardly dare to look at directly, the disordered habits, the twisted thoughts, the actions you hide in secret for fear of being judged. I know there are things you believe you can never give up, as if an invisible chain were wrapped around the wrists of your soul. I know you feel ashamed when you face yourself, and I know how many times you have told yourself, I'll change tomorrow. But my child, darkness does not leave because you delay. It only leaves when you bravely open to me the very door you have kept locked for so long. Remember that the truth will set you free. JN 8:3-2. And here the truth is that you dare to name what is imprisoning you. Closing this door is not done by promises alone. It begins when you receive the sacraments. Change your environment. Guard your time. And refuse to let your eyes wander into what weakens your soul. That is your part to do. And I will strengthen the part where you are still too weak. And then comes the third door, the door you think is wisdom but is in fact fear disguised in a very subtle way. You tell yourself you are being realistic when you avoid starting what I have called you to. You call it prudence when you dodge the steps that make you tremble. You say you are not ready yet every time I plant something in your heart. But in truth, you are simply afraid of failing, afraid of being criticized, afraid of not being worthy. You treat fear as a faithful advisor, while I am the one who leads you into life. Do not fear, for I am with you, is 4110, is not a mere comforting slogan. It is the declaration that fear is strong only when you stand alone, and it weakens when you take even one small step toward me. Closing the door of fear means you begin to do the very things you have been afraid of, apologizing to someone, returning to an old responsibility, joining a faith community, seeking a spiritual guide, or simply daring to start again from the beginning. And my child, as these three doors slowly close, you will feel your soul become strangely lighter, not because you have changed in a single night, but because you have just chosen light instead of compromise with darkness. The miracle does not lie in how forcefully you slam the door. The miracle is in your courage to recognize which door must be closed. In that very act of decisiveness, you will find that you no longer tremble before the dark nights of the soul as you once did. You will see before you a path you never believed yourself worthy to walk, the path that leads to true spiritual maturity. And then, a gentle breeze will whisper to you what I have long prepared, that to be truly free. You cannot only close doors, you must also learn to live steadily, with discipline, and in cooperation with grace. For the road ahead requires you not only to stay awake, but to persevere day by day in the light I give. My beloved child, When you have closed the doors that weighed your soul down, I want you to grasp one more important truth. I am always ready to set you free. But I will never take away the responsibility and freedom I gave you from the very beginning. Freedom does not come from a magical touch that changes everything in an instant. It comes as you choose to walk with me each day, one very small but genuine step at a time. My grace is not a ticket that excuses you from responsibility. It is the quiet strength that upholds you when you choose to do what is right, even while your heart is still trembling. Faith without works is dead. Jos 2:1-7. I say this so you may understand that what I give cannot take root if you do not cultivate it with a life of watchfulness. I want you to gradually sense that the journey of renewal is not a fleeting emotion, but a way of life you decide to guard each day. Do you remember the days when you were moved in prayer? When your heart burned within you because I touched it? I rejoice in those moments, but I know they are only the first sparks. If you stop at mere emotion, that flame will soon be snuffed out by the winds of everyday life. I want you to learn how to nourish the sacred fire by very ordinary things: a short prayer at the beginning of the day, a page of scripture each night, Sunday Mass even when your mind is still in turmoil. Do not think these are too small. It is precisely such small things that keep your soul from losing its way. When you persevere in what is simple, you are sowing seeds that I will cause to grow at the right time. Just as I have said, whoever is faithful in a very little is faithful also in much. Luke 1:6-10. I know you are hesitant, but every step of perseverance you take is a great joy to me. There will be days when you feel you are not any stronger, not any holier, and at times you may even feel as though you are going backwards. Do not be quick to despair. My child, healing is never a straight line. It is a journey of ups and downs, of moving forward and then pausing to catch your breath. What matters is not the speed, but the direction in which you are walking. Every time you choose honesty over pretending to be strong, choose prayer over avoidance, choose watchfulness over giving up, you are offering me the most precious gift, your will. My grace will fill all that you lack, but I want you to know that it is your cooperation that turns grace into real strength in your life. You do not need to do anything grand. You only need to do what is right, faithfully, again and again, even when no one sees. I also want you to value the very ordinary things in this journey. When you work diligently, I see it. When you try to correct a small habit, I know it. When you manage your money, time, and emotions with wisdom, I delight in it. When you face an old wound instead of abandoning it, I am right there to hold every drop of your pain. Many people think that living the faith means chasing after intense emotions, while true holiness is found in the small things you persevere in each day. Walk by the Spirit. Gal 5:16 does not mean always feeling inspired. It means choosing what is right, even when you feel nothing at all. You will see that the more faithfully you persevere, the richer your heart becomes in peace, a peace that does not come from circumstances, but from living in harmony with my will. And then, when you have grown accustomed to walking day by day in discipline and obedience, you will find your soul growing strong in a natural way. No more of the repeated breakdowns of the past. No more cycles that always bring you back to where you started. You will begin to experience a freedom that rises from within. A freedom that is not loud yet very real. Freedom when you face temptation. Freedom when you know how to say no. Freedom when you live your true calling without needing to pretend. In this quiet strength, you will realize that I do not want to set you free only for your own sake. I am also preparing you to become a blessing for those who live around you. As you stand firm, your light will spread from you effortlessly, and that is when your journey will begin to touch hearts you never imagined you would influence. You will step into the next thing. I wish to show you that when one person truly returns, an entire generation can be reborn in the light. My child, I want you to sit very still and become aware of your own breath, because what I'm about to say is not only for you, but also for those who will be touched through your life. When you return to the light, when you choose to stand up instead of letting yourself be shattered, all of heaven rejoices. But that is not all. The grace I pour out upon your life never stops with you. It always flows outward. Like a clear stream seeking other parched lands, I will pour out my spirit upon your descendants. Gai 3:1 does not speak only of a single moment, but of a current that runs through generations. When you are changed, the people around you, the ones you love, the ones who share your home, also begin to breathe in the fragrance of renewal in me. Even if they do not notice it right away, you still think your decision to turn back and be converted affects only yourself. But you do not know that every small choice you make in the light creates a great shift in the spiritual realm. When you close the doors that lead to sin, you are not only blocking harm from yourself, you are cutting off cycles that your family may have carried from generation to generation. Fears handed down through the years, patterns of negative thinking, addictions, hot temper, bitterness, all of these can stop with you. You become the stopping point of a dark current and the starting point of a new stream of light. I know you do not see it immediately, but I clearly see each invisible cord snapping when you choose what is good. When you forgive, the darkness loses its power. When you live faithfully, the doors of blessing swing open. When you choose peace instead of chaos, your whole household shares in a grace for which you yourself have become the source. I also want you to know that the blessing I pour out is not meant for you to keep locked inside. When you grow stronger, when your mind is healed, when your hands return faithfully to their work, when your finances are managed with wisdom, I am not lifting you up only for your own sake. I am preparing you to become an instrument in the service of others. You are the light of the world. Mount 514 is not merely a compliment, it is a mission. Others will come to you for encouragement, to receive a word that lifts them up, to rest in the peace that you yourself once lacked so deeply. Your healing will become a living testimony that I am still at work in this world. There will be people who return to a life of faith simply because they see the light in you, a light that is not noisy, not showy, but very real. Then there will come a time when you sense that the trials I allow you to pass through are not only to train you, but to prepare you to support those who stand exactly where you once stood. You have known what it is to feel lost. You have known what it is to be crushed under doors of sin, fear, bondage, and so you will know how to embrace someone with a tenderness that those who have never stumbled cannot offer. I turn your tears into soothing oil for the wounded. I turn the times you have collapsed into a foundation from which you can stand beside those who are shaking. When you tell the story of your journey, you do not speak to boast, but to hand over keys to souls imprisoned in the dark, keys you received from my own hands. When you live true to your call, you become a spring of peace that others will long to draw from. And my child, when that happens, you will look back and realize that I did not only rescue you from the darkness, I also made you a sign of hope for your whole family and for the generations after you. Children will grow up under a roof flooded with light instead of fear. The people around you will learn how to pray, how to live gently, how to forgive, how to stand firm, simply because they see those things in you. The blessing I pour out upon one person can transform an entire family line. You will never fully know all the good that will spring up from your decision to return, and you do not need to know. You only need to walk in truth and in light, and I will take care of the spreading. You have come farther than you think, and on the road ahead you will not walk alone. I will go with you, and the light within you will continue to shine for those who are seeking their way out of their own night. My beloved child, you may not realize that each step you take in returning, every small decision you make to follow the light, shakes an entire unseen region. I do not tell you this to frighten you, but so that you may understand why in these recent years your life has seemed to be struck again and again from so many sides. There are dark forces that have observed your family for a very long time. They have taken note of every wound, every generational sin, every habit that previous generations did not manage to heal. They have set their sights on you, not because you are special in a way that feeds your ego, but because they recognize in you a stopping point, someone who, if truly awakened and standing firm in grace, will become a marker that ends their influence over your bloodline. They study the past of your family, seeing who fell because of money, who was crushed in disordered relationships, who had their will broken by disappointment, who died in bitterness. From that, they draft a plan, and you become a priority target, not because you are weak, but because they fear the day you truly rise in the power I have given you. I want to tell you this as a father who draws you close, places his hand on your shoulder, and speaks slowly and clearly so that you will no longer be confused. In the invisible realm, a council has been held against you. Evil spirits have seen the light I placed in your soul from when you were still in your mother's womb, and they know that if that light were to blaze forth in fullness, what they have built over generations would begin to crack. So, one by one, they take their assignments. Some are charged with keeping your finances always unstable, even when you work hard and try your best. There always seem to be holes, unexpected expenses, things that appear just when you have managed to save a little, sweeping it all away. They do not aim only at your money, but at your trust and your sense of security, so that you live in anxiety, in a sense of inferiority, in the thought that I do not care for you enough. Another is tasked with driving your relationships into fog and confusion. They whisper suspicions, magnify minor misunderstandings, turn someone's unintentional words into a blade that cuts your heart again and again. The place that should have been where you are comforted and supported slowly becomes ground that makes you want to withdraw, close your heart, and no longer dare to trust anyone. Then there are those who specialize in targeting your time and your will. They do not need to push you down in dramatic ways. They simply need to stretch your procrastination a little longer, to lay a few more heavy bricks named tomorrow. Not ready yet. When things are stable, then they know very well the good intentions you have cherished, a project you want to start, a plan for learning, a turning point in your spiritual life, so they orchestrate incidents that distract you at the very moment you are about to act. In this way, everything stays in a state of almost but never comes into being. You blame yourself for being lazy, but in truth, there is an assault aimed at wearing down your will, so that you come to believe you are, by nature, a failure who will never accomplish anything. Others strike on the front of your health and your sleep, unexplained fatigue, nights of tossing and turning, even when you are exhausted, dreams that leave you waking with a deep unease. They do not only want your body to be tired, more importantly, they want your mind to be in turmoil, so that you no longer discern what is my voice and what is theirs. But their most subtle strategy lies in a very hidden place, the thoughts that echo in your mind at your most vulnerable hours. Do you remember those times you woke in the middle of the night, around 2 or 3 in the morning, when everything around you was silent and all you could hear was your own heartbeat and a dark stream of thoughts pouring through you without stopping, cruel phrases that, if you were fully awake, you would never dare to speak to another person. Yet they rise within you like your own voice, speaking to yourself. You have no worth. No one really needs you. Praying is useless. If you disappeared, no one would even notice. You think you are simply being honest with yourself. You think you are facing reality in a harsh way. But I tell you, those words do not spring from the heart I have for you, and they do not reflect who you truly are. They are waves of signals sent deliberately, like tiny needles pricking your soul again and again, designed to make you let go right at the moment you are about to reach the threshold of breakthrough. They borrow your own voice because if they showed themselves plainly, you would resist them. But when you think those thoughts are your own, you more easily believe them and embrace them as your destiny. My dear one, I tell you all this not to make you afraid, but so that you may understand you are not crazy, not broken, not too weak as you have believed. You are under such fierce attack precisely because you are important in my plan of love. Those dark forces are not all powerful. They act only within the limits permitted. And every move they make is under my watchful eye. They may have opened a file on you, but in heaven I too have a record where your name is engraved on the palms of my hands. Nothing you go through, no moment when you want to give up, yet still manage to whisper a prayer, is ever meaningless. They think that if they pressure you long enough, you will accept that you are a victim, abandoned, someone who will never improve. But I have seen the moment you began to crack away from those lies, when you began to doubt not me but the very voices that had imprisoned you. In that very moment, the invisible bonds binding you began to weaken. And child, there was a very specific moment that I want you to remember, not as some superstition about dates and hours, but as a marker in your heart, on a certain evening not long ago, when you thought all your petitions were still hanging somewhere unanswered. I brought your case before my court of justice, while you were weary, perhaps only able to sigh and no longer strong enough to finish a prayer. In the courts of heaven, a verdict was proclaimed over your soul. I, who created you, declared an end to the enemy's unlimited right to accuse you and your life. What your ancestors, your family, and you yourself have done wrong has been judged in the crucified Christ. This does not erase every consequence in a single night, but it completely changes your position in this battle. No longer cornered and constantly pushed against the wall, you now stand as one who is defended, protected, and entrusted with authority to rise and cooperate with grace. From the moment that verdict was pronounced, the dark scheme they had built around your life began to crack from within, not because you suddenly became extraordinary, but because I placed a new seal upon you, confirming that you belong to me, that you are permitted to step out of every cycle that once chained the generations before you. You may still see the old temptations return. There may still be days when your finances are tight, your relationships chaotic, your sleep incomplete. But do not misunderstand, this is no longer a hopeless cycle repeating without end. It is only the last reactions of a system that is collapsing. Just as the night often seems darkest when dawn is near, your soul too is standing at the very edge of a new sunrise. My part is to protect, to cover, to lead, and to fight for you. Your part is to believe, to respond, to walk in the specific instructions I will gently place in your heart, to change a habit, to seek out a community, to dare to ask for help, to dare to speak the truth, to dare to pray even with the simplest words. Do not think that the decision of heaven is something distant, reserved only for saints or for those who seem especially anointed. That verdict is for you, right there in the small room where you live, in the midst of your daily responsibilities, your work, your children, your family, and the burdens that are uniquely yours to carry, because in you I see not only an individual struggling, but a doorway through which grace will flow into your family, into your generation, and into the people you will meet. When you accept the truth that you are no longer defined by old scripts of failure, you will begin to live differently. You will no longer see yourself as someone destined to spend a lifetime cleaning up messes, but as one who is sent to build, to reconcile, to heal, as you believe what I declare about you. The records that darkness has compiled will gradually lose their weight. They may still scream their accusations, but the final word over your life belongs to me. My beloved child, let me take you deeper into what you are beginning to sense, like a strange wind passing through your soul. At once familiar and astonishing, what is happening in the spiritual realm is not a metaphor, nor a merely symbolic way of speaking. It is a reality your soul has long been waiting for. The forces that once clung to the cracks in your heart, that exploited your fears and failures to claim power over you, have now lost every reason to exist. The indictment they built against you out of old sins, out of your weakness, out of your stumbling choices, was torn up before my throne from the moment you dared to open your heart again. The authority they thought was unshakable has turned out to be nothing more than the cold breath of a dying night touching the light only to disappear. It is not because you defended yourself well enough, but because I stood in the place you could not stand, and every accusation against you has been dissolved in the light of mercy. You are no longer bound by what once seemed to have already decided your life. In that moment, when midnight had just turned into the first minutes of a new day, the heavens trembled. The archangel Michael, the faithful commander who has never lost a battle against any darkness, was sent down with a specific mission concerning you. He did not come merely to observe, nor to offer gentle suggestions, but to carry out my decree. He bears the sword forged in my very light, the sword that once swept rebellion out of heaven. That light is now being opened over the path of your life, not to make you cower, but to cut through every chain that has held you back. The resources that were once blocked opportunities, wisdom, relationships, doors of blessing are being reclaimed by him and restored to their rightful ownership in you. He is reversing the flow of currents that have long been dammed up, sending them back toward your soul, which has been so parched. What you have lost in the last 5 years is not lost forever. It has only been held back for the moment when you are awake enough to receive it without losing it again. As he releases these things, you will feel in your own body the very changes you once dismissed as passing emotions. If your hand tingles as though a current were running through it, this is not merely a physical sensation. It is your body responding to the shifts taking place in the spiritual realm. I am activating what I placed in you from the very beginning, something that time, fear, and old wounds have never been able to erase. Every cell, every strand of DNA is being renewed with the frequency of breakthrough. As if I were rewriting the deepest codes of your soul, you may feel your chest growing warm, not because you are emotional, but because my presence, which has always been with you, is unfolding one more layer to touch your physical heart. I touch it not to make you tremble in fear, but to remind you that your heart is not just an organ that pumps blood. It is a living altar I have chosen as the place where I set my life. Your forehead may feel heavy, as though an invisible hand were resting upon it. Do not be afraid. It is a sign that your spiritual vision is being reopened. The long, murky years you have endured were not because I was silent, but because the eyes of your inner being were veiled by old hurts, by worries, and by lies that were sown in your weakest moments. Now that veil is being drawn aside so you can see the larger picture, the one you could only sense dimly before. You will no longer look at things through the lens of fear or through the memories of your brokenness. You will see by the light I am placing back into your soul. And as that light opens, you will recognize the signs I have sent throughout the years, the seeming coincidences, the sudden unease without clear cause, the dreams you could not explain as gentle warnings that you did not yet have enough peace to hear. You may be surprised to realize that everything is happening at once, shifts in your body, an awakening in your mind, and a quiet summons in your spirit. This is not because you are overly sensitive, but because the heavens are opening over your very life. When Michael acts, No power can continue to stand before you with the confidence it once had. He does not return to heaven empty-handed. He goes back only when the mission is complete. When you have stepped out of the season of being held down. When the blessings long imprisoned are restored to their rightful place. He returns with a report of your victory, not a victory because you were strong, but because you allowed yourself to be led by me. If in this very moment you begin to recognize a common thread running through what you have gone through these last 5 years, the same failures repeating, opportunities appearing then vanishing, dreams always blocked at the last minute, that is because the light I am opening is giving you a completely new perspective. You are beginning to see that not everything has been bad luck, but that a spiritual cycle had become so familiar that you mistook it for your destiny. Now, as you read these words, heaven is waiting for your silent answer, not an answer spoken by your lips, but a consent within your soul. Will you agree to step into what I am preparing for you? Are you willing to let go of the old way of seeing, the old way of thinking, the old identity that pain taught you to believe? I will not force you, but I want you to know when you nod within your inner being, the whole sky shifts in response. I look at you now with the tenderness of a father who has watched his little child struggle in fear for far too long. You do not know how strong you truly are, because you are used to seeing yourself through the lens of the things that made you fall. But I see something else. I see a soul that has passed through fire and through darkness, that has collided with pain and yet has not been devoured by it. I see a child who stood up again after believing there was no strength left to stand. And it is precisely this that has caused heaven to shift the winds on your behalf. What you are feeling in your body right now, the light tingling in your hands, the warmth spreading in your chest, the weight upon your forehead is evidence that I am renewing you from the inside out. This is not imagination. This is the movement of the Spirit. I am clearing away the last hiding places of darkness in your soul, and as you allow this truth to soak into your heart, you will realize something I have long wanted you to understand. You are not alone in this battle. Not now, and not ever in the past. You have never fought the darkness by yourself. You have not carried your wounds alone. You have not been abandoned in the long night. I have stood there. I have fought. I have waited. And I have sent heavenly armies ahead of you to clear the way. You need only see this so that you will no longer fear being left behind. Keep breathing, my child. Let the warmth I have placed within you spread little by little. As your DNA is adjusted to fit the new life you are about to enter, you will find your heart becoming unfamiliar to you, no longer as heavy as before, no longer as clouded as before, no longer clung to by the lies that once drove you to despair. Instead, you will sense the gentleness of peace making a way, like the sun breaking through after a long night. You will see the things that once terrified you become harmless. You will see the things that once wounded you lose their power over you. You will see that you are not merely surviving, but stepping into a new chapter, a chapter in which light will no longer be something you chase, but something that radiates from within you. And when that happens, you will know that everything I have spoken to you today is not an abstract promise. It is a reality being rewritten in your very body and soul. You are about to step into a season where darkness will have nowhere left to cling, not because it has grown weaker, but because you no longer belong to its territory. You belong to the light. You belong to me. And what I have begun in you, I will bring to completion. You only need to keep walking, because what is waiting for you ahead is greater than everything that has bound you all this time. My child, I am here, and heaven is opening for you. Keep reading. Keep opening your heart, because you are standing at the very moment when your life begins to change forever. My child, I am not speaking to you in vague words to lull you to sleep, nor am I scattering random hopes over you just to please you for a brief moment. I am touching the very concrete strings of your life. Like a surgeon's hand, placing the scalpel exactly where it needs to open in order to remove the dead, decaying part and save the whole body. I want you to understand that in the time ahead, I will use things that seem very ordinary to shake you awake, to remind you who you are in my eyes. Before circumstances, wounds, and the harsh words of others tried to shrink you down. It may be one morning, one evening, or a moment when you are not at all prepared. You will receive a message, a phone call, an email, or a friend request from someone you have not heard from in a very long time, so long that you thought that bond had been completely severed. When you read those lines, hear that voice, or see that name appear, your heart will tremble because they will remind you of a memory, a story, a detail you thought had slipped away into oblivion. Do not be quick to assume it is merely coincidence or vague nostalgia. I can use that memory as a mirror placed in front of you, so you can see again the image of the child you once were, purer, braver, more trusting in me before life's collisions made you curl in on yourself. I am not pulling you back into the past so that you regret or blame yourself. I am bringing the past back in order to open a path for you to remember your true identity. You are one whom I love, not the product of failures and the labels people have stuck on you. When you realize this, you will understand that there is no moment in your life that is meaningless. And I can use relationships you thought were forgotten to awaken the beautiful part within you that you believed had died. Do not be surprised either if, within a short span of time, less than a week, you begin to notice very concrete movements in your material life. I know the nights you toss and turn, worrying about expenses, about bills that must be paid, about responsibilities you are carrying on your shoulders. I do not work miracles like stage tricks, but I care for you in a way that is quiet yet sure. There may appear a sum of money you once thought was lost, a refund, an adjustment, a debt being reduced, or a small work opportunity that brings in exactly the amount you need to get through this present season. I am not telling you to sit and wait to win the lottery or to pin your hopes on sudden good luck, for I do not train you by illusions. I want you to recognize that I walk with you even across spreadsheets, invoices, contracts, and exhausting extra shifts. When you see the numbers appear, whether large or small, remember that every amount you receive is a reminder for you to manage it with a new awareness, no longer as one who is afraid, but as one who collaborates with me. Instead of constantly fretting over finding mysterious signs in every number, I want you to learn to see your finances as part of your vocation, to use what you have with faithfulness, honesty, and generosity. Do not chase after decoding every detail as if every figure were some mystical code. I do not want you to live dependent on signs. I want you to learn to trust in my providential love. What I desire is that when you find your financial burden lightened in ways you did not expect, you know how to lift your eyes and whisper, "Father, thank you," because you remember even the little things that keep me awake at night. In that very gratitude, you will understand more deeply that I do not only touch your soul in times of prayer, but I also walk with you in the marketplace of life, in each decision to spend, to save, and to share, so that all things work together for good for those who love God. And it may also happen that, within a few days, right in the middle of very ordinary routines, you will experience something that makes you stop in your tracks. Someone you see regularly at work, in your neighborhood, at the cafe you frequent, or a familiar face along your daily route suddenly says a sentence that touches your heart so precisely that you feel as though someone has opened the secret pages of your heart and let them read. It might be a phrase identical to the words you keep repeating in your thoughts, an image that matches exactly what you are wrestling with, or a reflection on spiritual life that you have never dared to voice to anyone. That person does not need to be more devout than you, does not need to understand Scripture, nor possess any special gift. They are simply being used by me as a conduit through which a ray of light passes. I often speak to you through such ordinary things, because I know that if I only spoke to you through extraordinary events, you would think I am very far from your real life. Just as long ago I used the words of a child, a foreigner, a woman at the well, to speak into the hearts of those who were lost. So today I can use anyone crossing your path to sow into you a question, a stirring, an encouragement. Do not turn that person into something sacred, nor bow before them as before a prophet. Simply listen, remember, and ask me in your heart, Father, what are you trying to say to me through this sentence? As you practice asking such questions, you will learn the art of living awake, recognizing me in fleeting conversations, in teasing remarks, in comments that seem utterly ordinary. You will feel me less distant, because you are beginning to notice my traces in the way others suddenly touch exactly what you need to hear. I do not want you to become obsessed with interpreting every word, but I do want you to think less that I am silent. In truth, I have been speaking all along. It is just that you are not yet used to recognizing my voice in the rhythm of your daily life. And there is one more thing I want you to prepare your heart to receive in your sleep. When your conscious mind rests and your layers of defense are lowered, I can still draw very near, gentler than a touch. There will be times when, among the random dreams that usually drift through your mind, there appears a dream of a different kind, clearer, deeper, leaving a resonance in your heart when you awaken. You may find yourself standing before a stream of water that is clear and flowing. Like an invitation to cleansing and renewal, you may see keys, old yet finely crafted as symbols of abilities and callings you once set aside, that I now wish to place back into your hands. You may see doorways slightly open, with light filtering through, shining into places that have always been dark within your soul. Whatever the images may be, I want you not to brush them aside too quickly, nor to be afraid or superstitious. Regard such a dream as a letter sent in symbolic language, where I speak things that are hard to express in words. When you wake up, you can write down what you remember, not to build a manual of dream interpretation, but to give yourself space to converse with me. Father, what do I feel you are saying? What are you inviting me to let go of? What are you calling me to step into that is new? It is precisely in this process of writing and praying that your mind will no longer scatter in all directions, but will gradually learn to discern what is a passing dream and what is a deeper invitation. I do not promise you that every night will be filled with signs, but I promise that not a single longing you offer to me will be left abandoned in meaninglessness. If you entrust to me both your sleeping and waking, I will weave them together, day and night, into a journey with direction, so that you no longer feel as though you are drifting aimlessly in your spiritual life. My child, all that I am saying to you is not so you can count days and hours, waiting for signs as though waiting for a performance, then feeling disappointed when things do not unfold according to your expectations. Nor do I want you to use these images and situations as formulas to apply to everyone, because each soul is a unique story that I cherish. What I truly desire is that through these concrete ways, you learn something deeper. I am closer than you think, more practical than you imagine, and I am entering your life through small details you once thought I did not care about. If in the coming days some of these things do happen to you, open your heart to receive, give thanks, and continue to live faithfully. If they do not unfold exactly as you hoped, do not hastily conclude that I have forgotten you. Let these words become a guarantee that, whatever the outward circumstances, I'm still seeking ways to reach you through other paths you have not yet recognized. What matters is not the form of the sign, but that your heart becomes softer, more willing, more attentive, When your heart is trained in this way, you will no longer cling tightly to timetables and formulas, but will let the Spirit lead you, like a sail unfurled to catch the wind wherever the wind comes from. The sail will billow in that direction. I do not want you to live under obsession. I want you to live in trust. And in that trust, every unexpected message, every timely sum of money, every sentence that makes you stop and think, every dream that touches your heart, all of these can become meeting points between you and me, where I gently whisper, I am still here, and I will never leave you alone. My child, sit down and let your heart open like a soft page before the wind. For what I am about to say is not for ears that hear and then forget, but for a heart that is thirsting for the freedom you have long desired. You think that the turning point of your spiritual life comes from emotions or from some strange event, but the truth is much simpler. Your breakthrough lies entirely in whether or not you obey the word I am now whispering personally to you. Not every warning is the same, and not every door can be opened casually. There are doors that seem harmless but are quietly draining your spiritual strength, leaving you exhausted even while you still smile, leaving your soul worn out even as you try to appear normal. I do not want you to live like someone carrying an invisible burden without even knowing why you are so heavy-laden. I want you to look honestly and deeply at the first thing I am bringing into the light, the relationships that no longer belong to your journey, those people you have loved, hoped in, supported, who now only bring you a weariness you no longer dare to name. You know very well whom I am speaking of, not some vague figure, but the very person whose name, whenever it appears on your phone screen, makes your heart tighten not from joy, but from a heavy foreboding. They only call when they need something from you: help, comfort, a favor given without conditions, which they have never truly cherished. When you speak of your dreams, they mock you. When you open your heart, they wound you. When you need to be heard, they fall silent or turn away. Yet whenever they need something, you show up. They deny your worth, yet demand your loyalty. They sow harsh words into your mind, causing you to doubt yourself, and then stand before you with a smile as if nothing they said ever scraped your soul raw. You have remained patient with them, not because you are unreasonable, but because you have a faithful heart that remembers the good that once existed in them. Many times you have sighed in prayer, asking that they change, that the connection be healed, that something might bring them back to how they were before. But, my child, not everyone is meant to walk with you to the end of the road. Some people are only given to you for a brief season, and when that season ends, I call you to move on, but you have clung to them longer than you were meant to. You are not holding on to them out of healthy love, but out of fear, fear of being seen as cold, fear of being misunderstood, fear of hurting someone. Yet you do not see that you are the one being wounded day after day as you try to embrace a relationship that has rotted from within. You think that cutting someone out of your life is heartless, when in truth, it can be one of the most loving acts you ever do for yourself. I am showing you that not everything old must be kept. Some things, when held onto for too long, become chains that bind your soul to what I have already taught you to leave behind. I do not say this to push you into loneliness, but to rescue you from a false intimacy that is draining you every day while you mistake it for loyalty or obligation. Remember that I never give a pointless command. When I tell you that this door needs to be closed, it is not the voice of irritation or despair. It is the voice of protection, the voice of a love that sees farther than you can see. Heaven has already seen what you cannot, that the blessing approaching your life cannot pass through a doorway blocked by someone who does not belong to your journey. It is not that I want to discard anyone, but that I want you to value yourself and refuse to let anyone strangle the life that is growing in your heart. I want you strong, not strong to fight people, but strong enough to choose the right path even when it hurts in the first moment. You have allowed this relationship to cling to your soul like a stubborn ivy, creeping up stone walls and blocking the light from shining in. You know very well that every time you speak with them, your heart is disturbed in a way that makes you anxious. Not at peace, the peace that comes from me. You have tried to save them, fix them, to endure them, forgive them, and you have called that compassion. But look closely. Have they ever truly upheld you in your moments of weakness? Have they ever drawn you closer to me? Or have they only pulled you farther away from me with words that make you belittle yourself? You cannot lift someone higher if they insist on dragging you down. You cannot heal a heart that refuses to change by allowing it to keep wounding your own. So when I say that this door must be closed now, I am not speaking in anger. I speak with the voice of a father who sees his child being drained day by day, yet too afraid to break free. I speak with the voice of the one who knows exactly who is harming you, even when they appear caring on the outside. I speak with the voice of love that longs to lead you into a new season, without the old weight on your shoulders. Sometimes obedience begins with something very practical, deleting their number from your contacts, stopping your replies, blocking their account so that your heart is no longer pulled back into old spirals, not because you are bitter or seeking revenge, but because you know your worth, and you know that I am leading you into a safe place where they cannot follow you. I want you to understand that distancing yourself from someone is not always an act of cruelty. Sometimes it is mercy for both of you. When you step out of a toxic connection, you are not only rescuing yourself, you are also forcing the other person to face themselves, to see what they have done, to learn to stand before God on their own feet. You are not responsible for bandaging wounds they have inflicted upon themselves by allowing them to wound you in the process. You are not obliged to be someone's shield while you yourself stand unprotected. Set your boundaries again, like a child placing their hand into the hand of their father and trusting that they are not being abandoned. You are simply being led into a new land, wider, brighter, where the people I send will lift you up instead of pulling you down. And when you close this door, something profound will happen in your soul. You will feel such a lightness that you will wonder why you did not do it sooner. Your mind will be clearer, your sleep more peaceful, your heart less tormented. You will begin to hear my voice more distinctly, because the noise of that relationship will no longer drown me out. You will realize something you had never considered. There were blessings waiting at the threshold of your life, but they could not enter because you allowed someone who did not belong there to stand in the doorway. When they step aside, the way will open, the light will flood in, and grace will pour down like rain on dry ground. I know you will feel the ache. You will feel empty in the first days, and you will ask yourself if you went too far. But my child, that emptiness is simply the space where I will plant something new. It is the soil cleared of weeds so that seeds can be sown. It is the breath drawn in just before a mighty wind. It is the silence before a new song begins. And one day, you will feel with startling clarity that you have just stepped out of a shadowed place you had mistaken for normal. You will look back and see that this decision was one of the greatest turning points in your spiritual journey. And this is only the first door. As you dare to close what must be closed, you will grow stronger to face the other two doors, distorted habits and disguised fears, those things that are also demanding a decisive break from you. But now that you have walked through the hardest part, I know you are brave enough to continue. I will not leave you halfway. I will lead you through each door, each step, each decision, and your new season will be more spacious than anything you have ever prayed for. You need only take my hand and obey. The freedom you have longed for is closer than you think. You only need to step into it. My child, I want you to grow quiet for a moment and let me draw your soul deeper into what I am doing in your life. Because at the deepest level of all this seemingly chaotic movement, A new order is being formed in ways your natural eyes cannot yet perceive. No, my child, nothing is collapsing. What you call loss is in fact the removal of old bricks so that I can lay a new, firmer foundation. Relationships that leave, doors that close, plans that fall apart, none of these are signs of failure, but of a sacred rebuilding taking place within your soul. From ground level, everything shifting may look like a storm, like standing in ashes and assuming the whole forest is dead. But I look from above, and I see new shoots pushing through, new pathways opening up. It is simply that, before what I am building can take shape, the old must first fade away. And that makes you feel as though I have led you into a wilderness. Yet the wilderness is not a place for you to be lost. It is where you are separated from the noise, so that your soul can become quiet enough to hear my voice. I know the attacks you have faced recently have left you exhausted. They have come fast and relentless, as though darkness wanted to topple every part of you that you had just managed to rebuild. But you must remember, whenever light begins to shine on ground it once avoided, darkness will rise up in resistance. It is precisely because you are shifting territory, because you have stepped away from old doors, because you have stood to your feet, that darkness now howls fiercely to drag you back to where you used to be. Do not be afraid. My beloved, a soul that is rising always throws darkness into confusion. I want you to see the true nature of this battle. It is not aimed at your body, nor at your outward circumstances. It is aimed at your faith, at the freedom you have just begun to taste. And that is why I want you to learn to speak aloud the truth I have already sown within you. For when you voice truth, darkness loses its advantage. Practice saying this. When the storm comes, I know exactly what is happening. I have recognized its true nature. I will not return to the old bondages. Every old covenant has ended. I no longer belong to darkness. I belong to the kingdom of light. When you declare this, you are reminding your soul of its true identity, that you are no longer chained to your past, no longer a lost child, wandering blind paths, no longer bowed under any yoke that once controlled you. That truth does more than silence the deceitful voices screaming inside you. It sends a signal to heaven that you have stepped onto my territory, that you are ready to live as one who is set free, no longer ruled by fear. And my child, as you walk into this new realm, I want you to learn to receive blessing not as something distant or vague, not as a fragile hope, but as something soaking into every part of you. My blessing is not a passing breeze that brushes you and then disappears. It is a river poured down from heaven, flowing into the very places you thought were beyond revival. I do not want you to merely hear about blessing. I want you to feel it seep into your thoughts, your choices, your every breath. I want you to dare to believe that I can do exceedingly more than anything your imagination has ever reached for, more times than you can count. Open your heart and receive this. I bless you to such a measure that fullness will no longer be a theory but will become your daily experience. I want your finances to be not merely sufficient, but so abundant that giving becomes a joy rather than a burden. You will find yourself stepping into a new season in which money is no longer something you fear or cling to, but a tool I place in your hands so that you may build, uphold, and sow into the souls that need to be reached. You will experience provision coming from directions you never expected, as though goodness itself were pursuing you, not because you crave material things, but because I desire you to become a generous steward, one who gives without trembling and shares without running dry. Not only material wealth but opportunities themselves will seek you out. They will present themselves so insistently that you cannot ignore them. One door will knock, then another, and the people I send to you will carry invitations you never even dared to dream of. Yet you will learn to walk in wisdom. Not every door is to be opened. Not every invitation is to be accepted. You will know how to discern what comes from me and what comes merely to distract you. That discernment will not arise out of strain, but out of the steady peace that I will pour into your heart. You will find yourself more mature, more grounded, knowing your worth, and able to say no without fear of losing anything. I also want you to feel blessing as a garment of protection wrapped around you, not the rigid armor of a soldier, but the gentle shield of my presence, a presence that causes others to marvel when they stand near you. They will perceive the peace in you before you even utter a word. They will see the light upon you without understanding why. They will ask what has changed, and you will smile, because you know it is I who have reshaped your soul from within. You do not need to boast, to prove, or to explain. True light never needs advertising. It spreads by itself. My child, believe me, blessing does not come merely to soothe your wounds, but to rebuild your future. It will spread to your family, to those you love, to those who dwell under your roof. It will settle into your voice, your actions, your gaze. It will transform the way you love, the way you forgive, the way you stand firm in trials you once thought you could never endure. When I transform a person, I transform every space that person enters. I am doing this in you quietly, patiently, and surely, each piece is falling into its proper place. Every decision you choose in the light is opening up a new path. Every step you take with me is driving the darkness back. And one day, very soon, you will pause, look over your life, and realize that nothing in this journey has been meaningless. Every trial has carried significance. Every wound has had a purpose. Every tear has been a seed. Every time you rose again has been a victory. I am rewriting your story, a story whose ending will astonish even you. And you will know, deep within, that I have never abandoned you, never stopped fighting for you, and never ceased to place my blessing upon your life. You need only keep holding my hand, walking step by step with me, and allow my light to lead you into the new season that is coming, a season you never imagined you were already prepared to receive. My beloved child, let me draw you into my embrace in this moment, not as a distant God, but as a father who bends down, lays his hand upon the head of his cherished child, and whispers words carrying the warmth of heaven. You have walked through stretches of the road that have exhausted both your body and your soul. But today, I long to pour into you a new current, a word spoken from my heart set apart for you. I desire that every cell within you begin to respond to the rhythm of my kingdom, rather than to the heavy diagnoses the world has placed upon you. My child, may your body vibrate with the frequency of life, of hope, of the healing I have always desired you to receive. Those things that have clung to your bloodline like generational shadows, sickness, unseen disorders, lingering weakness, I speak that they must stop with you, for I intend you to be the breaking point of a long chain of pain. You are the boundary line of freedom, the place where what is evil reaches its final limit. May the strength that has been worn down within you be restored little by little, like water returning to the riverbed after a season of drought. I want your legs to cease their trembling, your hands to fall no longer in resignation. I want your breath to grow warm again, your heartbeat to rest in peace. And when night falls, I want your sleep to become a sheltered refuge, where you rest as a child lying quietly in a father's arms, sweet, complete, no longer jolted awake without reason, no longer haunted by the cries of anxiety seeping into your mind. I desire the pain in your body to dissolve like salt in water. I desire inflammation to recede and disappear beneath the light of my healing. Then the day will come when you step into the clinic and the doctor's eyes will be filled with astonishment as what they once deemed hopeless becomes evidence of my intervention. They will use words like extraordinary, unexplainable, against medical logic. And you yourself will know that I have done this, not so that people might praise me, but so that you might recognize I have never left you abandoned in the dark. You will also see that relationships which have drained you will fall away from you as easily as a leaf drops from its branch in due season, not through conflict or argument, but through the gentle leading of my Spirit, so that you no longer strain to hold on to those who do not belong to your journey. I want you to grow lighter, to make room for healthy people, kindred souls, hearts that know how to lift you up, and you will be amazed as they step into your life at just the right moment, at just the right time, as though I had arranged each of their steps to bring them to you. They will not drain your energy. They will pour faith, hope, and freshness into your life in the way you have longed for but rarely received. And the circle around you, the ones I choose to walk beside you, will be so blessed that simply standing within your sphere of influence, they will feel renewal. Breakthrough will no longer be a luxury. It will become the very atmosphere breathed by those who draw near to you. I know your mind has been a battlefield, a place where anxiety pitched its tents, where fear screamed, where darkness disguised itself as a familiar voice. But today I speak this to you: your mind will be restored to peace, not the counterfeit peace the world offers, but a peace that surpasses all understanding, a peace so deep that circumstances cannot shake it. May anxiety lose its grip on you, may fear be stripped of its voice, may depression dissolve like a thin mist under the morning sun. I want your thoughts to line up with truth rather than be shaped by old wounds. I want you to know that peace I leave with you, my peace I give to you, Jane 1:4-7, is a promise meant for the very moments when you feel most helpless. And when night falls, you will lie down without fearing that your own thoughts will pull you into a spiral of sleeplessness. You will drift off in peace like someone resting in a quiet field beneath a star-filled sky, utterly undefended, utterly surrounded by me. Look beyond yourself for a moment, because I want this blessing to flow to your children and to your children's children. Like a seed falling into good soil and bearing fruit, your legacy will take root in the lives of future generations. The cycles you once thought could never be broken, generational patterns, painful scripts, tangled family dynamics will be shattered in you. You will see your children walking free in areas where you once struggled through tears. Your grandchildren will grow up in the light you quietly built through each small, faithful choice. And on your family tree, I will inscribe the victory you have secured, so that those who come after you will know that one person in their lineage stood up and changed the course of history. You are not as small as you think. A single decision from you is enough to shake what darkness has tried to hold. The inheritance I desire for you is not meager or withered. I want abundance to flow in your very bloodstream. Not flashy wealth, but a sufficiency so overflowing that you lack nothing and can become a source of blessing to others. I want your body to be a manifestation of vitality rather than illness. I want your steps to be strong, your breathing light, your heart robust. As your life's purpose grows clear, you will see that the fog, distraction, and confusion that have bound your hands for so long no longer have any ground to stand on. I will cause the calling I have placed on you to resound so powerfully that your small doubts can no longer whisper, and the gifts I have woven into you, the ones you thought were too small, too weak, too faint, will open doors you believed were shut forever. No door is locked when I hold the keys, and I hold the keys to your life, my beloved child. All that I declare today is not an abstract promise, but a reality I long to sow into your life, like rain falling on dry ground. I am not only transforming you, I am transforming the very ground on which you will stand, the atmosphere you will breathe, the generation that waits for the miracle of which you are the beginning. You need only open your heart, and I will accomplish the rest in ways that only heaven can. Believe that what I am preparing for you far surpasses anything you have ever dared to hope for. Believe that you do not walk alone, and believe that from this moment on, blessing begins to flow into your life like a river that never runs dry. As I have promised, I came that they may have life, and have it abundantly. JN 1010. You only need to take my hand. You only need to keep going. I am here, and I will never leave you. My child, come a little closer, for what I am about to sow into your heart is not merely a promise, but a living picture of what I am preparing to unfold for you. Let your heart slow down and the eyes of your spirit open wide, because as you step into this part of the journey, you will feel as though everything before was only a shadow, and now the sky is truly beginning to break open. I have seen every time you hesitated before the door where I knocked softly. I have seen the moments when you almost turned toward a darker path, but then something made you stop, like an invisible touch pulling you back toward the light. You thought it was coincidence, but I tell you it was I. I held your hand back before you slipped too far. I upheld your heart before fear could drag you under. And I lifted your eyes so that you would not lose the hope I placed in your very soul before you were formed in your mother's womb. Now, I want you to see wider, deeper, and more clearly. Your future has many turns, but not every turn leads to life. Therefore, I will set before your eyes two pictures, not to make you anxious, but so that you may know the weight of a choice that seems small, yet can change every current waiting ahead. I want you to picture the first version. It is you if you let your heart shrink back just because of fear. In that version, you keep on walking with wounds that have never been healed, allowing gentle lies to slip in like night mist, clinging to a thin garment. You pass through your days feeling half awake, half asleep, never completely collapsing but never truly living either. The dreams I planted in your heart are covered with dust because you decide that you are not good enough, not strong enough, not holy enough to carry them out. And when trials come, the very trials I allow in order to train you, you avoid them. You withdraw. You choose safety instead of courage. You lean on old habits. You return to places that once numbed you simply because they feel familiar. Then 1 month slips by, then another, and outwardly everything seems normal. Yet inside you there is a weariness that has no name. That version of you is not a disaster, it is simply a life fading day by day, until you suddenly realize the years have passed but your heart is still as old and unchanged as at the beginning. I see you there, sad eyes, slow steps, a forced smile, and I ache, knowing you were always meant for so much more. Then, I want you to look at the second version, the place where you become what I have dreamed of you since the foundation of the world. That version of you is not a flawless person, but one who allows me to shape every rough place in the heart. In that version, you become so sensitive to my word that even my softest knock is enough to make you rise. You walk not with human self-confidence, but with the assurance that comes from your God. You lift your head in the middle of the storm because you know my hand is resting at your back. You do not chase after the praise of people. You simply long to live in line with what I am calling you to. And it is precisely in that faithfulness that I open doors you once thought would never be meant for you. The graces I pour out no longer come as single drops but as a flowing stream. Every step you take carries the fragrance of peace, causing others to sense, there is something about this person that I long to touch. You do not put yourself on display, yet the light in you brightens the whole room. You do not need many words, yet your very presence is enough for others to feel comforted. You know that every good thing unfolding is not the result of talent or effort, but of the grace I destined for you long before you even knew how to call on my spirit by name. That is the version I long for you to choose, for in it you become a river of life for your family and for the generations that come from you. And my beloved child, it is in this very moment, while your soul is reading these words, that those two versions are coexisting, both open before you like two roads waiting for your feet to step upon them. I do not force you to choose. I simply set before you the consequences and the blessings of each path, so that in the next 60 seconds you may know what you will entrust your soul to. I want you to know that if you move in the direction I am calling, the door will swing open even before your hand reaches for it. Blessing will go ahead of you like a herald in a royal procession, announcing to every place that the beloved child of God is drawing near, not because you are worthy, but because I have decided to place my seal upon your life. You will begin to see things that seem random, yet are so precise. It is as though I have written the script of every minute, a phone call that opens a new opportunity, an email arriving just when you feel forgotten, an invitation that makes your heart beat faster because you know I am leading you into a new season. And you will stand there, eyes wide, hands trembling slightly, able only to whisper within, "No one but the Lord could have done this." There will come a time when others look at you and ask, "What has happened to your life? Why has everything changed so quickly?" They will not ask out of envy, but out of hope, because they see something in you that they themselves long to taste. And you will tell them, not with pride but with gratitude, about the night you almost brushed past what I was doing, about the moment you nearly let everything pass by because you were so tired. But then there was a call as gentle as the wind that made you stop. You will speak of the instant you realized you were standing at one of two crossroads, that two futures were opening at the same time, and that you chose the path where the light was waiting. No one else may understand that a 60-second decision can change an entire lifetime. But I do. I have watched countless souls step into life simply because they paused at the right moment, listened at the right second, and offered me a tiny yes that resounded all the way into heaven. Now I want you to grasp something more. The shift that is coming is not only for you, but also to show those around you that I am still at work in this chaotic world. I am not silent. I am not distant. I am not weary of humanity. I am still upholding every soul that leans on my grace. And you will be a living testimony of this. My favor upon you will carve a way for parched hearts, so they may see that if you, the one who was once weak, fearful, and standing so close to the edge of darkness, can be lifted up by me, then they too have hope. You do not need to strive to make a difference. It is the transformation within you that will do it. When you step into the version I have chosen, your life will become an answer to countless prayers others have whispered in secret. And in this way, what I do in you will never stop with you alone. I want you to imagine further. Before long, you will be standing in a place you never thought you could set foot in. Not a place of glitter or luxury, but a place where your heart is so at peace that you fall to your knees, knowing you have just crossed a journey greater than any story could tell. You will sense the anointing upon your own hands, not as an explosion of emotion, but in a quiet yet steady way, like the sun rising every morning. You will find yourself speaking words you once lacked the courage to say, doing things you once believed you could never do, loving people you used to avoid because your wounds were still too deep. All of this will unfold like a natural current, because I will go before you, making a straight way in the desert, opening a path through the thicket, and raising bridges where you once saw only chasms. This is how I work, not loudly, not boastfully, not hurriedly, but with precision, gentleness, and power. And my beloved, finally, I want you to remember this as you would your own breath. Those two futures are not far away. They are unfolding right now as you read these lines. Every second you choose the light, you are stepping into the better version I have prepared for you. Every second you slow down to listen to me instead of listening to fear, you are altering the course of your entire lineage. Every second you choose to rise instead of give up, you are stepping into the blessing heaven has been waiting to place in your hands. I stand here, not pushing, not forcing, only speaking gently into your heart, choose life, that you may live, and your descendants may live. I have set before you an opportunity, a path, and a promise, and the rest belongs to you. In this incredibly precious moment, the moment in which you yourself will open the future I have written in unchanging love. Choose, my child, and as you step, I will step with you. The beginning starts right now. My child, sit down in true stillness, as though every movement in your soul were coming to rest, to make room for this rare moment when heaven and your heart are meeting. You have just come through a journey that was not easy, and I see in the inner eyes of your being something you yourself have not yet fully noticed. You are no longer the same as when you began. Something has awakened a sound so small, yet echoing so far that you can no longer pretend it never happened. You have sensed something that anyone else in the world might try to deny, but you can never deny again. Once you have seen the light slip into the very deepest darkness of your soul, you cannot go back to the old night and live as if you never knew what light is. And this moment, my child, is slowly closing like a door that is gentle yet resolute, a door that opens only for those who dare to step into truth, who dare to let go of the chains that have bound them for so many long years. Do you know that in the spiritual realm, there are moments unlike the ordinary hours you drift through in the flow of life? There are times I open to you only once, so that you may see your true nature, see where you belong, and see what you are being invited to step into. This is such a moment. You did not arrive here by accident. It is not merely emotion. It is not by chance that your heart has been stirred so deeply. I have been preparing this from long ago, from the times when you thought I was silent, from the nights when you sighed and no one knew, from the moments when you felt abandoned. All those pieces, little by little, have led you here to this moment when I can finally speak to you the things I have longed to say for so long. And once truth has been sown into your heart, it can no longer be choked out, because my word does not return empty, but bears fruit for all who open their hearts to receive it. Is 5-5-1-1. You can no longer go back to the way things were, for it is I who have awakened the deepest part of your soul, the part you once tried to forget, the part you were afraid to face. Yet it is also the most beautiful, the strongest, and the closest to me. You cannot return to your old way of living, your old excuses, your old habits, because you have come to know that they are chains, not a home. You can no longer lull yourself to sleep with vague dreams and promises of tomorrow, for your soul has felt the breath of real life, the life I have always desired to give you. You have heard my call, and once your ears have heard that call, nothing can truly make you pretend you never heard it, for that call does not speak to the ears of your body, but to your very being. It awakens you like a bell that rouses a sleeping soul in the midst of a battlefield. You are the seventh soul, not in the sense of being greater or lesser than others, but in the sense of timing. You have arrived at the very moment when this door is opening for one who is called to step into a new season. There are realities in the spiritual realm that move in cycles, and today you are standing at the exact crossroads between an ending and a beginning. You do not realize it, but for the past 7 years, you have been walking in a loop that I now desire to bring to an end. You have cried out to me many times for deliverance, yet you did not know that deliverance does not always come through spectacular miracles. Many times it comes through a gentle yet resolute summons, rise, my child. And today is that summons. The next 7 years will belong to you, or they will become yet another loop, depending on the decision you choose in this very moment. Not tomorrow, not when you feel more ready, not when circumstances change. Now, you are not simply standing before an invitation. You are standing before 3 confirmations that my angels are beginning to arrange. Each angel brings you not something vague, but 3 testimonies, 3 openings, 3 doors of new blessing. Yet those doors will only open when you choose to close the 3 old doors. Darkness is not afraid of weak prayers. It only trembles when you begin to act on what you already know is right. I have seen in your heart 3 people waiting for you to reach out. 3 apologies, or 3 decisive words you have hesitated to speak. 3 choices you know you must make, but keep delaying. When you act, the angels will act. When you take the first step, the blessing will begin to move. You are not alone in this moment. All of heaven is bending low to see what you will choose. And my beloved child, I want you to know this heaven is not merely hoping you will respond. Heaven is waiting for you. Hosts upon hosts of angels are not standing by as passive observers, but are longing for your answer as a mother bends down, waiting for her little child to decide to take her hand. My gaze rests upon you, not to judge you, but to bless the moment when you dare to step through your fear. You still think you have plenty of time. You think there will always be another chance. You imagine a day will come when everything feels easier. But in the spiritual realm, not every moment is the same. There are moments when I open the door wider than usual so that your soul may step into a deeper renewal. And this is precisely such a moment. Pay attention to this within you. There is a stirring that you can no longer honestly ignore. A deep part of you is longing to run toward life, while another part is trying to pull you back into your old safety zone. But that old safety zone is not home. It is only a place that feels familiar because you have lived there for so long. It is time to leave it. Today, if you hear my voice, do not harden your heart. Ps 9, 5, 7, 8. You may think you are not ready, but in truth you are more ready than you realize. You have passed through so many breakings, so many moments of gritting your teeth and enduring, so many times of collapsing and then rising again. All of this has trained you to face this very moment. The fear you feel is not a sign of weakness. It is simply the last boundary that darkness has raised to keep you where you are. If you will only take one step more, every chain will fall without you having to strain. And my child, I want you to understand that this decision does not require you to instantly become a flawless person. I do not ask you to be perfect. I ask you to be sincere. My faithfulness will uphold the unfinished parts of you. All I desire is that you agree to move toward the light, even if your feet are still trembling. Freedom does not come from absolute strength. It comes from trust in the midst of your weakness. It is precisely when you say, "Here I am, lead me," that the heavens begin to open over your life. When you decide to walk forward, the angels will clear the way. What was once blocked will be undone, and new doors will open in ways you could never manufacture. For that is my work. This moment is not an ordinary opportunity. It is like a final bell, a last call, a flash of light revealing what I have prepared for you before the night closes in. Yet you do not need to be afraid. You only need to respond. You are standing at a crossroads that very few ever recognize. You can step into 7 years of blessing, or you can continue into 7 more weary years. Everything depends on the choice you make in this hour. I do not force you. I love you. And it is precisely that love which longs for you to choose the path that leads you into life. Remember that heaven does not open its doors to threaten you. Heaven opens its doors to offer you an entirely new path. And right now you are not merely invited, you are deeply longed for. Not when you have time, not when you can rearrange things, not when your life is more stable. This is a right now moment. For the light does not wait for your perfection. The light waits only for your consent. And here I am, extending my hand, waiting for you to take it, to lead you into a journey for which you have long been prepared, but have never truly dared to enter. My child, I long for you to pause for a moment and listen carefully. not only to my words but also to the heartbeat within your own chest. Because this hour is not a meaningless moment drifting among thousands of identical days. It is a very real dividing line between your old life and a new journey I have long prepared uniquely for you. Do not wait for some perfect day. Do not delay until you feel strong enough, holy enough, ready enough to take the step. There will never be a moment when you feel completely sufficient. And you know that. That is why I have placed this calling and this invitation squarely in your present. This moment is not a rough draft. This is real life. Every breath you now receive is a portion of the gift I give. And I am using this very instant to whisper to you, you do not need to become a perfect version of yourself before you return. You only need to come back. And I will write the rest with you. You have often imagined breakthrough as something dramatic and grand, accompanied by unusual signs or some event that shakes your entire life. Yet within you something quieter, yet far deeper, is taking place. It is the struggle between remaining where you are in an old, worn-out safety zone, or courageously stepping across a new inner boundary. That boundary is not a physical place, not a new job, not another relationship. It lies in the very decision to believe. A single small yes is enough to turn the direction of an entire life. One humble step is enough to open a whole new field you never imagined. What makes the difference is not the length of your prayers, but the trust in your heart. Trust that I am the one speaking to you. Trust that I do not deceive you. Trust that I am big enough to catch you if you stumble, and gentle enough to gather you into my arms each time you are weak. Do you remember those nights when you wept in silence, your eyes fixed on the dark ceiling, your mouth unable to form words, leaving only choked, muffled sighs? In those moments you asked yourself, when will my life finally change? When will I be free from this cycle? When will I no longer have to be strong all by myself? You thought those questions disappeared into the air. But I have kept every unspoken word in my heart. Your hidden midnight tears have never been meaningless. They are the seeds I have used to water the soil of your soul, so that one day, when you are courageous enough, those tears would bloom into flowers of faith. And the when you once asked about is today. I do not promise you a tomorrow without hardship, but I offer you the chance that from this day on, you no longer have to walk through those hardships alone. You often think, perhaps I need to pray a little more, read more spiritual books, live a better life for a few more years, and then it still won't be too late to decide. But my child, you do not realize that this very later is stealing from you an entirely new life. Delay can be dressed up to look like wisdom, but deep down it usually springs from fear, fear of change, fear of losing what is familiar, fear of facing yourself, fear of leaving relationships or habits you know are not good, yet still cling to. I do not blame you for these fears. I understand they were born from wounds and exhaustion, but I also do not want you to let those fears steer the rest of your days. You do not need to wait until you are no longer afraid before you move. You only need to let me take your hand and step forward, even while your heart is still trembling. What I am setting before you is not a sentence of condemnation, but an invitation. That invitation is not addressed to some anonymous crowd. It is spoken to you by name. Before you were born, I saw your entire journey, the pits you would fall into, the wrong turns you would take, the moments when you would want to give up, and still, I chose to love you, to wait for you, to prepare the people, events, and reminders you are encountering in this very season. Nothing is random. The fact that you are hearing these words, the way your heart tightens a little, the way some hidden part of you senses, it feels as if God is speaking to me. All of that lies within my delicate design. I do not coerce you. I invite you. Your breakthrough is not a gust of wind that comes and goes. It is a door I open. but you must be the one who steps through. And between you and that turning point, there is not an insurmountable wall, but something very small yet very real, the choice to believe and to obey. Many times you think you are not virtuous enough. You have not gone to Mass for enough years. You do not have enough spiritual experience to live a life that belongs wholly to me. But my child, I have never called those who are already ready. I call those who dare to let me prepare them along the way. I do not need you to prove anything. I do not demand promises that are beyond your strength. I only ask for your honest answer. I want to belong to the Lord. Even though I do not yet know how to do it fully, it is precisely that humble answer that becomes the place where I can pour out my grace in the strongest way. I know that when you hear about closing certain doors, your heart stirs with all kinds of worries. If I walk away from that relationship, will I be left alone? If I dare to stop that habit, will I be able to bear it? If I send a message to apologize, will I be diminished? If I decide not to keep compromising, will people abandon me? All those questions are real, and I respect them. But I also want you to ask one more question. If I keep going on like this for another year, 5 years, 10 years, will I be able to endure it? Look straight at that. Imagine your future self, still carrying the same old wounds, still facing the same old torments, still hiding in the same makeshift shelters you call habits, or that's just how I am. Do you really want that for yourself? I know you do not. And I know you are thirsting for something far, far better. So when I say to you, close those doors, it is not a cruel demand that forces you to leave everything in a single night, but an invitation to step into a new kind of protection. The door you close might be a relationship that is dragging your soul downhill. It might be empty conversations that slowly carry you farther and farther from me. It might be the content you keep secretly watching, knowing full well it is slowly killing your soul. It might be the way you speak, the careless words, the undisciplined lifestyle you have always brushed off as no big deal. I am not telling you to hate those who have hurt you. I am teaching you to forgive them, and at the same time to set boundaries so they can no longer harm your soul. I am not asking you to torture yourself over old sins. I am asking you to bring them before me in the sacraments, in prayer, in seeking help, so that together with me, you may find a new path. When you close those doors, you are not losing yourself. You are saving your very self in me. There may be very concrete steps that I urge you to take. Sending an apology message you have delayed for far too long, reaching out to a spiritual guide and saying, I need to be listened to. I am really confused. Stepping away from a group of friends around whom you feel yourself drifting farther from me, signing up for a prayer group, a catechism class, a faith activity you have always been shy about, deleting a contact that keeps dragging you back into what you know is wrong, resetting your schedule and setting limits for social media, for movies, for anything that dulls my voice in your heart. These actions may sound small and ordinary, but in the spiritual realm, they are like very sharp swords that cut through the cords that have bound you all this time. I will not abandon you to do this on your own. I will be beside you, reminding you, consoling you, lifting you up whenever you stumble. Look back over the whole journey by which I have led you up to this moment, the times you thought you were completely finished, yet still somehow made it through, the people who appeared unexpectedly and then disappeared, the situations that forced you to stop and think, the words you heard somewhere that happened to touch exactly where you were hurting. Do you see how all of them are lining up, connecting into a single straight path that is not a chain of coincidences, that is a convoy of graces I have arranged to bring you to this very moment? And right here, I place in your hand a key, the key of decision. Only you can turn that key in the lock of your own heart. I do not force you. I wait. But I wait with all the love and hope of a father who knows exactly who his child can become if that child dares to say yes. The rest of your life, the years you have not yet lived, the people you have not yet met, the missions you have not yet carried out, the testimonies you have not yet told, the children who will look to you to learn how to pray, the people who will be lifted up because you had the courage to reach out a hand, all of that is standing on the other side of today's decision. You can keep walking down the old road, leaving everything as it is, choosing safety, accepting that your soul will live only at the level of just getting by. I will still love you, and I will still walk with you to the measure you allow me. But if today you dare to take even one small step, dare to close what once bound you, dare to send the words that need to be spoken, dare to begin the things that need to be done, you will see me opening before you doors you never imagined. I do not promise you a life without tears, but I do promise you that from now on, none of your tears will be wasted. I do not say you will never be weak again, but I guarantee that every time you are weak, you will find my shoulder right beside you. I do not say you will no longer have to fight, but I assure you that you will no longer fight as a victim, but as a child armed with love and grace. And all of this does not begin tomorrow, or when you are finally changed, but in the very moment you place your hand on your heart and gently whisper to me, Lord, here I am. I am not perfect, but I belong to you. Please lead me in the first step. When you say this, breakthrough is no longer a vague wish. It becomes a reality that begins to grow right in the depths of your soul. Try to imagine how your inner life would change if today you truly believed what I am saying to you. In the morning, when you wake up, instead of immediately checking how many bills, how many worries, how many unfinished tasks are still there, you begin with one simple sentence: Lord, today I am no longer someone being hunted down. I am someone protected by my Father. Just one sentence, yet it resets your position. You no longer stand behind fear, you stand behind me. When you go to work, to school, care for your family, tend to your home, these things are no longer meaningless days of mere survival. They become places where you cooperate with grace. You still do the same tasks, still walk the same familiar roads, but your inner orientation shifts from merely trying to survive to living as someone on mission. In each encounter, each conversation, you begin to ask quietly in your heart, Father, today, to whom can I bring a little peace, a word of encouragement, a look of genuine respect? That question, repeated day after day, gently helps your soul to stand upright, no longer shrinking back because of the past or old verdicts spoken over you. Little by little, you will see that the very areas that used to be your weaknesses become the ground where I use you to comfort others. You once went through financial crisis, so you understand the loneliness of those who constantly worry about not having enough to pay off tomorrow's debt. You once were wounded in relationships, so you know what it feels like to be misunderstood, abandoned, treated as insignificant. You once lay awake at night, with darkness so heavy you just wanted to disappear, so you understand what it is to stay up with only one question, repeating in your mind, what am I even living for anymore? Precisely because you have walked through those valleys. You are different from someone who only preaches from theory. The words you speak carry the scent of tears that have been shed, the weight of all the times you forced yourself to stand up again in despair. When you hold the hand of someone trembling and say, the Father is still here with you, that sentence is not just a comfort, it is a living testimony. A confirmation that my love is big enough to raise a person up from the depths. I will use your very wounds, once healed, as radiant scars that show the way to souls that have lost their way. You may be surprised to see that things which seem small in your new way of living create ripples that go much farther than you imagine. A family meal that used to be full of blame and complaints begins to have moments of listening, simple words of thanks. An evening when you choose to turn off the screen and sit down to read a passage of My Word with your children, your spouse, your parents. Even just for a few minutes is already quietly changing the spiritual atmosphere of the whole house. Every time you choose to lower your voice instead of shouting back, choose silent prayer instead of arguing to the bitter end, choose forgiveness instead of repeating the same old story, that is when the generational chains of anger, bitterness, and hurt begin to loosen. No one can see the heavenly records being rewritten, but I see clearly every mark being erased. And if you persevere, the children growing up in that environment will naturally learn to respond with gentleness instead of explosions, to pray before they despair, to run to me instead of running away. Do you realize that simply by allowing me to change the way you live, you are rewriting the spiritual history of an entire generation? There will be people around you who do not immediately understand what has happened. They only notice that you are different now, without finding the words to describe it. They see you calmer in situations where, in the past, you would have panicked. They see you more persistent in things you used to give up on easily. They see you complain less, yet speak more deeply when you share. They will begin to ask themselves, perhaps silently, but the question will linger in their mind, why, after so many storms, has this person not collapsed, but become gentler, warmer? That is the moment when the light I have placed within you begins to shake the closed doors in their hearts. You do not have to force yourself to become a speaker, a leader, a spiritual celebrity. I do not call you into a role to perform. I call you into your true role, the role of a child held by the Father, healed by the Father, sent by the Father as a living reminder that I am still present in a broken world. From there, your testimony is no longer a story told just for interest, but a tool I use to shatter the strongholds of lies in the minds of others. I know there will be moments when you are confused and ask yourself, someone like me, what can I possibly do for anyone? I am still lacking, still messy, still falling. My child, I have never required you to become perfect before you dare to approach others. I only need you to be honest and willing. You can say to someone, I'm just like you. I've been tired of living, tired of praying, tired of going to Mass. But one day I realized I'm not just someone sentenced to misery in this life. There is one who still sees me, still calls my name in the crowd. And from that day on, I started learning how to live again with him. That sincerity can reach hearts that even the sharpest reasoning cannot reach. Because you have tasted suffering, your words carry no scent of judgment, because you have fallen. Your hand does not throw stones, but reaches out to pull others up. You are still on the way. But it is precisely this unfinished journey that helps others believe they too have a place in my story. Remember, I do not think only about today. I always look further ahead. When I touch you, I see even your grandchildren, great-grandchildren, and descendants yet to be born. I see generations who will grow up in a spiritual atmosphere completely different from what you have endured. I see a little boy or girl in your household who one day will stand up and pray naturally, speaking to me with a warm trust you never had in the past, because they will have grown up in a home where a father, a mother, brothers and sisters dare to live honestly before me. I see family meals no longer covered by the heavy air of control, violence, and blame, but becoming places where people can share their struggles and ask for help without fear of being mocked. I see the bold decisions your children and grandchildren will dare to make for the sake of my kingdom, because they have heard the stories of how their father, their mother, their grandparents dared to close the doors of sin, fear, and bondage instead of drifting with the current of life. And all of that begins with a very small moment, the moment you believe that, my verdict is stronger than every sentence ever pronounced over your life. Perhaps where you live, no one ever says such great things to you. Perhaps people only look at your lack, your scars, your mistakes, and use them to define you. But in the secret room between you and me, I call you by another name. I say, you are the one I send to halt the downward slide of darkness in your family line. You are the one to whom I entrust the key that will open the treasury of grace for those who come after you. You are the proof that I abandon no one, not even those who think their names have been placed on the list of the incorrigible. I do not sugarcoat reality. I do not promise that from now on you will have no more difficulties. But this, I promise you, every hardship you overcome with me will become a seed of strength sown into the lives of others. Every time you choose not to return to your old ways of coping, you are knocking out another brick in the prison wall that has held generations captive. Every time you kneel and whisper even a single sentence, Lord, I am so weak, but I do not want to give up. All of heaven hears. I also know you are afraid of failing, afraid that one day you will stumble again, feel ashamed, and no longer dare to come near me. But my child, have you forgotten that I am your father? A child learning to walk is not scolded for falling many times. The child is held, lifted up, and encouraged to try again. That is how I look at you. I do not sit counting how many times you have stumbled. I look to see whether you still want to get up. As long as you still desire to rise, my heart overflows with joy. As long as you still long to live close to me, even while you are still confused and wandering, I am certain that one day you will find the way. Do not let any dark voice tell you, I am completely ruined. No, you are not ruined. You are being reshaped. There are things that must be broken before they can take the form I intend. When a clay jar is cracked, the potter may throw it away, but I am not an ordinary potter. I delight in filling the cracks with my own light and mercy, so that every scar becomes a story of what I have done in your life. That is why I long for you not to keep this journey to yourself. You do not need to stand on a pulpit, to start a big channel, or to carry any title. You can begin simply by living honestly and gently in the smallest circles: your family, your group of friends, your community, your workplace. Someone will notice something different in you. You no longer speak ill of others as before. You know how to stop when a conversation goes too far. You know how to apologize when your words wound. Instead of shifting the blame, someone will pay attention when you choose to use money more generously, daring to share with those in need even when you are not yet comfortable. Someone will be intrigued when you pause to ask after a person who is sad, or linger for a while after Mass to pray quietly for someone. I will use those very small gestures as arrows of light that pierce the darkness in other hearts. A single warm word from you may be the reason someone does not do something foolish tonight. A sincere sharing from you may rescue a marriage on the brink of collapse. A hidden prayer from your heart may become a wall of protection for people who do not even know they are standing in the middle of a spiritual battlefield. Finally, I want you to engrave this deeply in your heart. Your journey does not end just because there were years in which you were cornered, attacked, and deceived. On the contrary, it is precisely those years that make the story you are about to live all the more precious and sharply defined. Light shines most brightly when it has known the night. Freedom is sweetest to those who have worn chains. Love runs deepest where loneliness has been felt. I do not rejoice that you have suffered. I rejoice that now I can, together with you, turn that suffering into a wellspring of consolation. As you move forward, walk as one who knows you were chosen not to stand above others, but to stoop near those who have fallen. Remember, whenever you feel weak, you can return to the simple truth I whisper to you today. You are no longer a file in the hands of darkness. You are a child in the hands of the Father. And from these hands I will send you out, gently yet with full authority, so that you yourself become an answer to the cries for help that so many around you do not know how to put into words. Now open your heart as you would open the final door, and offer me the truest prayers from the depths of your soul, so that every word you utter becomes the breath of your homecoming, and every whispered sound becomes a step you take into the light I have prepared for you. O God Almighty, you are the Father who sees through everything hidden in my heart. Today I come before your face, no longer wishing to conceal or embellish anything. I ask you to shine your light into the deepest places of my heart, the places bruised and wounded, the memories that for so many years I have only dared to bury and never dared to entrust to anyone, not even to myself. Please break every word of condemnation about myself that I have mistakenly believed that I am useless, unworthy, a burden, and instead engrave deep within my heart the truth that I am your beloved child, called by a personal name and wrapped in boundless mercy. Please cleanse my memory and heal the distorted images of you that I carry because of past wounds, so that I will no longer see you as a cold judge, but truly recognize you as the Father who runs to embrace me every time I fall. Grant me the courage to face myself, not to accuse myself, but to hand over every weakness entirely to you, so that from this day on I may begin to live from the foundation of truth and no longer from fear. Heavenly Father, you who behold every invisible battle surrounding my life, I ask you for the grace of discernment, that I may recognize which voice is yours, which is the voice of darkness, and which springs from my wounds and bad habits. I do not want to go on living like a victim, tossed about by events, by negative thoughts, by situations that repeat themselves like a curse. Please let the light of the Holy Spirit shine upon those areas I have mistaken for personality or fate, but which are in fact doors I have unwittingly opened for spiritual and emotional bondages to enter. Please wrap your arms around my mind, especially in my weakest hours, in the nights when I toss and turn with dark thoughts, so that whenever I hear a voice rising within me, I know how to ask, Lord, is this your voice? And have the courage to reject every lie that does not come from you. Please teach me to see my true condition, neither sugarcoating nor despairing, so that I may enter this spiritual battle as a child whose hand is being held and led by the Father, and not as an orphan wandering alone on the front lines. Lord Jesus, full of mercy, you who have paid the price for me with your own precious blood, today I place at the foot of the cross all the entanglements of my finances, my work, and my future. I have so often felt drained, as if no matter how much I work it is never enough, as if every time I manage to gather a little peace, something happens right then to take it away. Please enter into every decision I make regarding money, work, and career, so that I no longer act out of fear of scarcity, but out of trust that the Father knows what I need and will never abandon me. Please stop up the leaks I have not yet seen, the habits of spending according to my emotions, the relationships that keep me dependent, the choices made without prayer that push me into stress. Grant me the grace to be faithful in little things, to work diligently and honestly, yet at the same time to know how to rest in you, so that my finances are no longer a rope pulling me away from you, but become an instrument through which I live generously and share with those poorer than I am. O God Almighty, before anything else, I bow my head in thanksgiving, for you have never taken your eyes off me. Even in the years when I thought I had been completely forgotten, I thank you for the times when I wanted to give up, yet some strength lifted me up. Now I understand that it was truly your invisible but very real hand holding me. I thank you even for the painful events, the failures, the broken relationships, the days of exhaustion, because looking back I see that these very things have driven me to stop relying on my own strength and begin to cry out to you. I praise you because you have not allowed the dark plans against my life to have the final say, but have intervened at the right moment and declared a verdict in my favor in heaven, so that today I can stand here to pray, to hope, and to begin again. I thank you that you use both the good and the bad that happens to draw me closer to you and to prepare me to become an instrument of peace for others. Beloved Father, I thank you that your love for me does not demand that I perform or hide anything. Thank you that every time I return to you, no matter what condition I am in, you never reopen the record of my mistakes to accuse me, but instead, you hold me even closer. Call me my child, and set before me a new opportunity. I thank you for letting me see that I do not live for myself alone. I am called to become a door of grace for my family, my friends, and the generations to come. Thank you that you are not discouraged by my many stumblings, but patiently wait, correct, lead, and gently shape me little by little. I thank you that in a world full of noise and demands, I can still find a place of refuge in your heart, where I am allowed to be weak, to weep, to be honest, and from that place, receive strength again to go on. I offer this prayer in the holy name of the Lord Jesus Christ. Amen. Please don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so that together we can build a strong community of faith.